Again, welcome to our launch event for our Network Infant Mental Health Summer Series. And my name is Sydney, and I'm here to give you an overview of what we'll be talking about today. So what we will do, we're together for just an hour from 11 until 12 noon. And I'm going to pass things over pretty quickly to Blanca Serrano, who's here, and she can introduce herself. And she's going to provide an introduction to the topic of infant mental health and also an introduction to the 13-part webinar series that we are going to dip into as our learning opportunity this summer. And then I will take over again and share how this whole thing will work. And we'll do some voting on which webinars we want to watch, have an opportunity for some Q&A, and then we have some coffee cards to give away as a prize. So any questions before I begin and hand things over to Blanca? Feel free to pop it in the chat or unmute yourself. And with that, though, I will stop sharing and happy to hand things over to Blanca. Feel free to introduce yourself, Blanca, and take us through the information that you have for us.
Okay, thank you, Sydney, and good morning, everybody, and welcome again. Thank you for joining us. I know we're a small group, but I'm really excited because the infant and early mental health work that we have promoted since 2012 is really a priority area for the Public Health Agency of Canada. And, you know, it's at the core of what CAPC and CPNP offers. So I'm always excited to share the learning opportunities that we have accessible to us. And so, sorry, I was supposed to introduce myself. My name is Blanca Serrano. I'm a program consultant with CAPC and CPNP, and I work out of the PHAC Toronto office, which is the Ontario regional office. And I've been with the programs for quite some time. They are amazing programs, and I think that's why, you know, it's so exciting to be able to get together whenever we can. With the pandemic, I guess one of the silver linings has been that we've been able to connect virtually more than we've had in the past. So, and I see that Sydney has launched one of a poll that if we could, does everybody see the poll?
Looks like people are responding.
Oh, okay, good. So we'll
just a couple more. Okay, I think we have all the responses we'll get, so I'll end the poll. Sorry to interrupt you there, Blanca.
That's fine. So there's our, great. So we have really good representation from different roles with the programs. Awesome. So I have only a few slides that I wanted to go over, a brief overview of the infant mental health work that we've done to date, and a little bit of, you know, about why it's important, which I know that you know. So it's just a quick, I'm going to share my screen. I have, hope you can see. Can you see the slides?
Yep, come up. Okay. And you just need to go into slideshow. There you go.
Okay. So I think I need to go back a few, oh, it went. Sorry, it was supposed to be at the, okay, here we go. Okay. So we wanted to provide just a brief, quick overview because this is all stuff that you all know. And because we know that we have new staff, that's always, you know, an opportunity again to sort of share what we've done around infant mental health. And infant mental health is a term that's used to describe the social, emotional, and cognitive well-being of infants and young children. And this includes the the way and capacity that a child has to experience, regulate, and express their emotions, to form close and secure relationships, to explore their environment, and to be ready to learn. We know that babies are born relationship ready, and actually, it's the optimal time for development. Just like nutrition is so important, the development and growth in the emotional side, and it's also important. So why is infant mental health so important? And science has shown us that early childhood is a time of both great promise, but also considerable risk. And the environment that babies are born into is their survival. So early experiences impact mental health and short and long-term developmental outcomes for a child. We know that early adversity is a threat to child's mental and physical health, and that there are lifelong consequences that impact the overall well-being. Many of you may have heard of the ACEs study, the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, and which really was able to show that early adversity, adults that had 4 or more early adversity situations were more likely to have chronic disease and other health issues in their adult years. So we know that the way that we care and nurture babies is of utmost importance for long-term health. Babies also need safe and nurturing relationships that are protective, because those protective factors will prevent stress and toxic stress, which is detrimental to development and growth. Experiences gained through relationships in their early years, so we say prenatal to 5, shape the architecture of the brain and create the foundation for short and long-term health outcomes. And what do babies need to support development and optimal health? Well, during the early years, mental health and development are heavily influenced by positive attachment to a responsive caregiver. Babies are totally vulnerable and they depend on their environments and caregivers. They need healthy nutrition. They need relationships that provide positive experiences, relationships where the caregiver's response is based on child's developmental needs. They need consistent and appropriate development support, and early identification or screening of social emotional issues is also crucial to a baby's healthy development and consequential school readiness and future well-being. So we used to say that, and this is also why it's so important that we focus on infant and early mental health. We used to say that the first few years of life, there were between 700 to 1,000 new neural connections each second. But in 2017, there was new research that actually showed that there are 1 million new neural connections each second. So isn't that amazing that in those early years, all these connections are happening. The more nurturing and care that babies have, the healthier their brains are. So, I often, people who know me, my projects, I often send out this message that don't underestimate the impact that you may be having on an infant or a young child, and empower others to feel the same way, because your role is so key in the way you support families and parents to care for their babies. And then I have that link for the Harvard Center for the Developing Child Study, where this new finding of 2017 is outlined. And this is just a visual that I like to include on my slides, because I'm a very visual person. So if you can see from newborn to 6 months, look at all these connections that are happening for a healthy baby. So this is what we want. And then here's just a little bit about the infant mental health work that we have done with CAPC CPNP since 2012. In 2012, we made a collaboration with Infant and Early Mental Health Promotion, which is a unit at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, and actually began the first pilot for a webinar series, which was launched 2012-2013. And that pilot really gave us an opportunity to see the engagement of our CAPC CPNP project staff in wanting to learn more about infant mental health. From then we went on to, I think the next one was 2015, 2016, and then the 2018, 2019 webinar series. So each time different topic experts would join that curricula, and they had offered topic areas that were linked to the science of infant mental health. So it was offered in the same format. It was an in-person. If you were in Toronto and you could go to Sick Kids Hospital, we would all meet there, and it would be live, but it would also be a webcast. And then the sessions were archived and made accessible up until January of 2018. Actually, no, it went further, September 2019. The recordings and handouts were available in both French and English. So though that early webinar series is now what has developed into, the infant mental health webinars, and what is now the foundations of early and infant mental health. Unfortunately, FAC was not able to fund. We weren't involved in any of the funding for the foundation's webinars. However, Child Kulkarni, who's a director at infant mental health at Sick Kids, when the pandemic started last year, she very kindly offered the sessions at no cost to CAPC CPNP projects in Ontario. So we're the only projects, CAPC CPNP, in the country who have free access to these webinars. So, this is why we're also promoting it, because it's a amazing opportunity to take part and be able to have the 13 sessions and a certificate at the end when you complete them. Part of the work also included stakeholder engagement. These were in the form of community tables, and those were offered throughout the years up until 2019. There were different communities that were part of those. And we also funded the development of Nurturing the Seed, which is a developmental support tool that service providers that work with Indigenous families can access. And we also offered a training last year, actually, for Indigenous projects to take part in 4 sessions that were offered by Sick Kids Hospital. So a bit more about the knowledge development piece with the webinars. They were very well received. We had really great feedback. And during the pandemic, also, I received lots of great feedback that people, when staff were working from home, this was a tool that they used for training. And it was, very easy to engage staff in that part. Again, so in the early sessions, we had over 754 CAPC CPNP staff participate. I think that's a very low estimate. To this date, there's in the thousands, I would say. And the series has had over 3,000 participants. Again, I think that's probably doubled or tripled by now. It's been a very popular training. And then a little more details on the stakeholder piece. We began with 5 community tables in Ontario and Durham, Algoma, East York, Simcoe, and Temiskaming. Simcoe and Temiskaming tables were Indigenous specific. We had other tables in Saskatchewan and BC, and this stakeholder engagement actually grew from those first 5 communities up to 18 communities. The last one we completed was in Niagara region and Thunder Bay in 2019. So that was a really exciting experience to be able to be part of. Some of the key themes that came from that, and these may resonate with you, people that participated from the different sectors that work with 0 to 6, prenatal to 6, they found that the family support system was fractured and that we needed to increase the multisectoral communication and collaboration. We needed to increase infant mental health awareness across different disciplines and professions, and including pediatricians and doctors. Practitioners working with infants and families were still lacking a lot of knowledge of the science of infant mental health, and screening initiatives and tools were needed, and screening needed to be more consistent. The need for reflective practice and supervision to support staff well-being when working with high-risk families. The Indigenous community tables, they expressed that increased cultural competence and awareness was required by different agencies that provided services to Indigenous families. There was, of course, a lack of adequate funding. We needed an Indigenous infant mental health framework. Also needed training and capacity building for staff, cross-sectoral collaboration, and the importance of engaging elders. In terms of the Nurturing the Seed tool, which was part of the work in expanding the Indigenous lens in infant mental health, this tool was developed by Indigenous service providers and elders with their input and collaboration. They were part of an advisory group, and these strategies are intended to provide interim support while awaiting services. So it's a developmental support planning tool that begins with a screen under observation, and then the service provider works with the family to create a plan that works with that family to support the developmental stages and milestones. And these are also may resonate with you, some of the challenges at project level that different projects and through the community tables, people expressed these were challenges. So junior and senior kindergarten expulsions or modified days, staff found that they were supporting families and advocating for families at schools because, with the full day kindergarten, many children were presenting with behavior and being sent home or expelled from school at 3 or 4 years old. So, that was definitely a challenge and a risk to the child and family. Developmental concerns, special needs, and how to best support these families. Working with parents and caregivers that themselves have mental health challenges. Supporting teens and young parents, supporting grandparents who are now parenting. That was a big one that we heard about, is how to support these grandparents that, had not been parenting for a while, and now had very young children in their care. Addictions impacting parenting relationships, screen time, parents and cell phones, social media, and the impact of parenting. And this is one that now with the pandemic, it's an added sort of a challenge. How do we work through this? Food insecurity, housing insecurity, and issues with transportation. The long wait lists that are still a concern for many services that are required. Working with LGBTQ2S families, gender independent children, and health equity across systems, was one that we heard from quite a bit about as a challenge. Many systems are not equipped to support families that are very vulnerable and high risk. So, you know, there's a lot of discrimination, racism, and issues that are systemic that impact families. And how do we support and advocate for them? So with that, that, you know, sort of concludes a very brief overview of the infant mental health work. And, you know, it is exciting to be able to have the opportunity to learn from these webinar series. They're just, it's a tool that we have accessible to us as CAPC CPNP. And, you know, it was great, Sydney's idea to have this summer learning club to encourage, you know, staff to take part on it. So thank you for being here. And if you have any questions, we can do some questions now, Sydney. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Feel free to type it in the chat or unmute yourself. And if you have any questions, I know, Blanca, were you going to go over the webinar series in any more detail, or we could show that that list of the webinars?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so the webinar is 13 different webinars. Oh, should I stop sharing then?
Sure.
So you can.
Sure.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I see more faces again.
Hi.
Hello. So there's these 13 webinars that are there. They're all, we can watch them anytime, and we'll give you the information on how you can, you know, sign up, log in, and all of that kind of stuff. And what we are doing this summer with our network is hosting space for us to come together to watch 3 of them together, to encourage ourselves to actually make use of this really great resource, and to have the opportunity to talk together and kind of unpack it, and, you know, think about how do we integrate what we're learning into our work. So so maybe I could just do that, going over quickly how we're envisioning this summer learning club to go. How does that sound? Or does anybody have any questions before I go?
Yeah, could I ask a question, Sydney?
Yes.
And thank you so much for that. I'm sorry I wasn't on in the beginning, but I was really interested in the nurturing the seed, right? And that Indigenous lens, and considering just where we're at currently with our times, right? There seems to be a lot of drive towards reconciliation. And where I was really looking into this project was just, I guess, in terms of how to build competency in that anti-oppression area, and really building on those cultural competency skills, kind of like, because we aren't, you know, technically in Indigenous communities, but we do service a large Indigenous population, right? We know that there's so many Indigenous peoples that live in urban and rural areas. So is there any more concrete tools, I guess, in how to build those skills when working with such vulnerable families? Because I can only imagine that a lot of the healthcare providers, even in these communities, right, need more education and knowledge building in that area as well. Instead of, you know, because there's the basics, right, for the infant mental health, which is definitely, right, the foundation, I agree, is definitely needed, but just that extra piece, right, in terms of, like, you know, like understanding the historical impacts in these communities and these populations.
Yes, for sure. That is such an important piece. With nurturing the seed, it's a tool, and it has sort of that historical context built into it. We offered the training last year. It ended, it was 4 or 3 sessions, I think, in March it ended. It does walk you through, you know, some of those contextual and historical pieces, but it focuses on the tool itself.
Right.
So I think that these sessions, unfortunately, 13 sessions, I don't think there's a session like that, unfortunately. there is, different trainings that are offered on cultural safety. I don't know that it has a focus on infant and early mental health per se. And that is kind of where that piece came from, our Indigenous community tables, that people are asking for that Indigenous infant mental health framework, which is exactly what you're referring to. So I know that Hospital for Sick Kids, Infant and Early Mental Health does have an advisory table that is Indigenous specific. So this is something that they're working on to build more on. So I think that it's more to come, and we should keep it. In our agendas, to keep asking for it. And
that's great.
Yes, for
Sorry,
sure, it's very important.
It's definitely noted as a priority in our network as well. As we've been, sending out surveys to our network members to see where people are at around the topic of truth and reconciliation, and hoping that can help inform us in how we can support spaces and places where that learning can help, both for the settlers who are needing to do that sort of that learning and cultural competency, and also spaces for our Indigenous projects and staff to have inclusion and learning and connection as well. So.
And I should add also that this unit, the Infant and Early Mental Health Promotion, that hosts and facilitates the foundation's webinars, since we began collaborating with them for the community tables and webinars, we held a community table in Temiskaming, I think it was 2017. Their elders council was actually there for those 2-day meetings. And since then, that elders council is actually an advisory group for infant and early mental health at Sick Kids. So they are constantly in consultation with them, and it's like the work is guided with this elders direction. So I think that's a really important piece, that that elders council has continued to be part of that work.
Thank you, Ingrid. Any other questions for the information that Blanca shared, or anything else? Anything?
Actually, if I could just follow up on some ideas that we've implemented in our area with respect to raising our understanding of Indigenous communities that exist within the territory that we're on. I work out of a children's mental health agency, and for quite a number of years, we've always had Indigenous participants from each of the 2 First Nations that are in our territory. And what we've done recently is just their voice has become more and more of a guiding voice with respect to learning about the Indigenous culture in in our territory. And we're in the process of creating even more understanding within our agency of some of the traditions, and the Indigenous board members have been very generous with sharing their knowledge and teaching traditions. So I think that there's a lot to be said for connecting with the First Nations in an area that you are in, and just ensuring that you're as engaged as you can be, and rather than always looking for trainings, which I think are important, but also grounding it in your own territory with the Indigenous people that are there.
Yeah, and I think you're right that that's really going to be what's leading this forward, right? And elevating the work that needs to be done, so that we aren't stepping in as that savior again, and like just really having them guide, right, about where we're going. No, that's really great. I really like hearing all of this. Thank you, everyone.
So that, so again, what we're thinking, again, this summer, what the space that we can hold to support our network members in engaging with these 13 webinars, this lecture series, is hosting webinar watch parties, which we've done in the past, and they've actually been quite enjoyable. So what we do is we'll come together in a Zoom room, and I will log into one of the webinars and we will watch it together. We can engage in the chat room as it's going on. And so we've, Blanca and I have carved out 3 times over the summer when we thought we could come together. And so you can see the dates there on the screen. It's every 2 weeks, I believe, on a Wednesday morning at 11 o'clock. So at this time. So starting 2 weeks from today on July 28th. And we've pre-selected the first one. We thought, you know, having everybody watch the first introductory webinar was a good idea. It's called A Course Intro to Infant Mental Health, hosted by Chaya. So we'll watch that together on the 28th. Then we have 2 more spaces, again on August 11th and the 25th, where we'll watch 2 more webinars together. And then we'll have a wrap-up event similar to this launch event 2 weeks later on September 8th. And we thought maybe one way to deepen our connection around it would be to host a Facebook group that's attached to our Facebook page. You know, unfortunately, WebConnects, it's about to be relaunched in its new format, and it's going to be wonderful. But in the meantime, the old one is kind of, it's hard to access a little bit. So we thought we would create a Facebook group. And I'll send an email invitation out to everybody, but that's the link there. You're welcome to come. I'm going to set it up so that each of the 3 webinars we watch together has a topic area, and we can engage in discussion online. And what else did I want to say? We'll also have, you know, some giveaways. We have, you know, 2 $15 coffee cards that we can give away at each gathering. You can choose, you know, Tim Hortons or Starbucks, whatever your preferred coffee is. And then we thought to encourage, you know, connection and conversation and reflection, we will have a larger prize giveaway, like a $50 Amazon gift card or something like that, that we will give to our top engager reflector, you know, a person writing, you know, comments and reflections in the discussions. So that's our big plan, our mad scheme for the summer that we're hoping that you'll be able to join us with. Blanca, is there anything I missed around that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I guess I just would add, so, you know, you can access the webinars at your leisure, and Sydney will share sort of the login information. If you haven't logged in before, you would do option 1, which, you know, you have to go in as a new registrant, I guess. If you have in the past registered, then it would be the following one.
Yeah, and I will email this out just so you don't have to worry about, because it's, you know, you don't want to have to write it all down, but
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And so once you're registered, you will get a confirmation code from Infant Mental Health at Sick Kids, and with that you can access the 13 webinars at your leisure. So, you know, we'll watch 3 together. So then if you wanted to do all 13, that means that the other 10 you can go in at your, whenever's convenient for you. You can watch it with other staff if your agencies are back in the office. And then, you know, you would go into the Facebook group and post. We thought we would have 3 questions that were just reflective questions. You know, that people could post these reflections on Facebook, or if you're not on Facebook, you could email Sydney and I, you know, if you've watched letting us know I watched this webinar and here are my reflections on these 3 questions, or anything else that you'd want to share, so that way we have your participation. We know about your participation, as we keep track for the prize sort of thing. And I think, that's, we wanted to keep it very easy and flowing so that encourage participation. We will be sharing it, with all projects, and hopefully we'll have, more uptake. But again, it's just an opportunity for summer learning and sharing your reflections and using this tool that we have access to, which we won't always have access. So just taking advantage of that opportunity for now.
Right. Take advantage while we have it.
Yeah.
Get that learning in. Awesome. So like I mentioned, I'll bring up the here, let me just fix my share here. Pardon me. Oh, no, I'm not in the right one. This one. This is the list of all the 13 webinars that are available. And I had sent this link out to you this morning when I sent you the information. And you can see the top left here, session 1, Introduction to Infant Mental Health. That's the one that we'll watch together in 2 weeks. And what we thought, so we have 2 more slots that we could watch. And Blanca and I thought it might be kind of fun if we do a little voting with everybody who's here today and give us a chance to play with our Facebook skills as well, because there is an annotation feature, and some of you may be more familiar with this than others. But if you see your top, you may need to click on the 3 little dots, but a function that says annotate. And if you can find the stamp function and choose maybe the heart or the star, and everybody maybe pick their top 2 choices for the additional webinar they'd like to watch. And then that's how we could choose. Does that make sense? If you need help figuring it out, just speak up and we'll figure it out together. But there's an annotation function in Zoom. And so you find annotate, and then you find stamp, and then you can choose you can choose the star. And I'm just going to star on Chaya here as a sample, right? What it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So take a moment, look them over. And what do you think? Should it be top 2, Blanca? Everybody choose their top 2, and then we'll
Whichever top 2.
Okay, whichever has the most stars, we will go with. So yeah, take a moment. And truly, if anybody's having a hard time finding out how to do this, and you just can't figure it out, let me know. You could just even put in the chat what your choices are, and we could count it that way as well. I see some votes coming up here. Awesome. And we decided if it came down to a tie, that Blanca would be the tiebreaker. And we're doing pretty good here for time. I think we'll do this voting, and then we'll do our coffee card giveaway.
So did you say top 3?
I said top 2.
Oh, top 2.
Yeah. Okay. Has anybody not voted yet who wants to vote? Well, it is looking like session 8 is pulled into the front with Dr. Trout, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's looking like a 4-way tie. Unless there's anybody who hasn't had a final vote who wants to shift the balance there. Otherwise, we'll hand it over to Blanca to choose
Uh-oh.
the second one. Put you on the spot, Blanca.
Hard. That's a hard one.
Session 8. I'm not seeing a tiebreaker pop up there. It might be up to you, Blanca.
Is everybody done voting then? And I
think so.
So this is all 4 of those, if I remember, are really good. Just because we have Dr. Michael Trout, I think we need either Barbara or Mary over there. I'm gonna have to say Dr. Barbara Stroud. She's with 0 to 3. She's really good. So I guess that would be my tiebreaker, Sydney, Dr.
Awesome.
Barbara.
So we have then session 8 and session 9. Session 8 will do, what are our dates here? Session 8 will do on the 11th, and then session 9 on the 25th. Oh, I love how the hearts and the stars, they follow. These are the things that make me happy. Hearts. Okay, well, I hope everybody's feeling as excited about this as I am. And so what I will do is, let's see, where should I have that? We'll put all this information together, the dates and the specific webinars and the link to the Facebook page, and I think that's, all the things. And certainly email it out to you directly if you signed up to come today, but I'll also be putting it in the newsletter and sending out in different spaces. And I really look forward to us coming together and watching these 3 sessions and learning together and having some conversations on our Facebook group. So I think that just leaves us with our sort of wrap up. I guess, before we do our little prize giveaway, is there any other questions, comments, concerns, ideas?
There's one in the chat. There's a question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Where is it? I lost
Hi,
it.
Sydney, it's me. I'm the one who put the question in the chat.
Did you?
I just wanted to know, how long are the webinars themselves? Are they like an hour and a half, or?
They're like an hour and a half, sometimes even up to closer to 2. So they're significant in length. And that's why we kind of thought we chose the 11, because then it goes into the lunch hour. Maybe so encourage people to have their lunch handy. And so they would go from 11 to 12:30 generally.
Okay.
Which is why we don't have a lot of time. We figured that's kind of pushing it then for us to have a lot of conversation after the webinar. I mean, we'd have a few minutes to debrief, but we're really going to encourage the conversation on the Facebook group, and we could even be, posting there as we're watching it, right? Having questions and conversations. So thanks for asking that, Shaheen.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing And we have two $15 coffee cards they give away. And we have a couple of questions. And I guess, the first person to answer in the chat is the winner. And I always like to pick on Blanca because sometimes we get the chats in different orders. You might see a different order than what's on. So it's whoever answers first that Blanca sees. And this first question was, does anybody remember? So we have this 13-part webinar series. Does anybody remember the name of the organization that has created this series? And if you do, just pop it in the chat. What organization has created this webinar series? And I think Shaheen, I don't know, is it on your screen too, Blanca?
Yes, Shaheen
Shaheen
was
has-
the first.
Awesome.
So it's the Infant and Early Mental Health Promotion Unit at Sick Kids Hospital, Toronto.
Congratulations, Shaheen. Did you, are you on the sign-up sheet, or could you email me and so that we can be connected and I can get you your coffee card if you send me an email?
Sure.
Awesome. So the other question was, okay, Blanca was telling us about how many new neural connections are in a baby every second, and it went from one number to a new number. Does anybody remember? Yes, I see right answers.
1 million.
Yeah, so who's the first person to answer that?
Jennifer Sell.
Jennifer, congratulations, you get the other copy.
Thank you.
So we'll be in touch with Jennifer and Shaheen, and I'll get those emailed out to you. Congratulations, and I think that's it. I think we've gone through everything. Have we gone through everything?
I was going to ask folks if there's anything that would help you to, promote this with other staff, other projects, and also for your own uptake. I know that time, it's a significant time commitment, I know, but we were hoping, in the summer, if there's, a bit of a slowdown and people usually, find summer a time for training and learning, that this is an opportunity. So is there anything that would help, or? Yeah, Jennifer?
I just wondered if it's possible, if like I've got, I don't know, I guess 8 staff that might be interested, could they all sign up and then we could, I guess, independently watch things and then talk about them? There's probably no way that we could collectively Zoom and watch one together.
Yep, you could.
Oh, could we?
Sure, just the same way that I will do it, right? One
Oh.
person, you come into a Zoom room together like we are.
Okay.
And one person logs onto the site and shares their screen and presses.
Oh.
Yeah, you could create your own watch party.
Okay, because I'm thinking we shut down for a lot of the summer because of vacations and different things. So I don't know how long after August this is available, but I'm just wondering if it is in September as well, for example, or.
I'm sure. Yes.
It is available. I mean, we have this access until told otherwise. So
Okay.
yeah, so far, Chaya Kulkarni has been really great. Like I said, she's offered this just for our CAPC CPNPs in Ontario. So there should be access beyond.
And can we also, I'm just thinking of our community development partners, are we able to share it with them as well in terms of inviting them to a Zoom meeting to watch?
If they're your CAPC CPNP partners, yes, like your CAPC CPNP partners. Yeah.
Okay. because I know there's a huge amount of interest in infant mental health in our area.
Mhm.
And in fact, before the pandemic, we were going to have an infant mental health committee and do all kinds of training. And yeah, so that's sort of fallen by the wayside. So this would be a marvelous way of kind of kickstarting that again.
So maybe we could put information on how to host your own watch
Mhm.
party. And I wonder, is it a good idea in our Facebook group to have discussion topics for all, maybe all 13 webinars, not just the 3 that we are watching together, but, and you know, then if people are motivated, you could come in and share your thoughts on all of them.
I think that would be good, Sydney, because that way you might be encouraged to, watch something else, because
Yeah.
13 sessions is a lot and probably won't get to all of them. And
Right.
seeing other people's comments can really say, okay, that's one I don't want to miss.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you only have to do all 13, one, if you're able to, if you have the time, and if you want the certificate, but otherwise you can pick and choose the ones, that you're most interested in.
Good.
I have a question. Is there like homework like that you have to do while doing these webinars to obtain the certificate, or do you just have to watch the webinars?
For the certificate, and it would be Infant Mental Health at Sick Kids that would issue the certificate, you have to do, I think there's a pre and post survey, a bit of a questionnaire. It's a short questionnaire. It may be pre or just post, I can't remember, but post for sure. There's a questionnaire that you have to complete in order to meet the requirements for the certificate.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Good question. Cool. Is that feeling like, are we feeling complete? Are we feeling ready for lunch? That's where my mind goes. Well, I want to thank you all very much for coming together and to our launch party. It's been a lot of fun, and a lot of gratitude to Blanca for taking us through that introduction to the topic and this series, and for being my partner in crime with our mad ideas for fun, summer fun.
Thank you, Sydney. What would I do without you?
So let's have some summer learning fun together. Really, really looking forward to it. And like I said, I will be repeating all this information in the weekly newsletter, and I will also email all of you summary and links and all of that fun stuff. So thanks so much for joining in, and take care, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,